Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today I'm joined by a new mate. I'm really excited about this because he's a very talented new mate. So let's just dive in with Frisco Boogie. I'm going to let you into a side note. We've done this already. I naffed the name up, but now we're doing it again and with the proper name of Boogie. Yeah!
Nice.
How are we doing, brother?
Smooth.
You just told us for a good 3 minutes about the name.
Yep.
Do you fancy doing it again?
No. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, congratulations on pronouncing it the way I like it to be pronounced. It's clearly not the way that 90% of people say it. Most people say Buhdha.
I'm guessing you've been on the radio quite a few times
as
well.
And people say Frisco Boogie.
And then does it...
It's just weird. It's a name. It's a name at the end of the day, but it's Boogie. And it comes from... Frisco and Boogie. Boogie means to dance, because I'm a dancer. I used to dance quite a lot. The name Frisco came from years ago. I've had many names over the years, and for dancing and rapping and MCing and things like that. But probably about 93 it would have been. I was watching. This shows how old I am. I was watching a videotape, and it was. I'm sure it was called Da Bomb, D-A. Bomb, hip-hop spelling, you know, we love to switch up the way things are meant to be spelled. And Supernatural was on, and I was watching him do his freestyle set, and he was in San Francisco, and he kept calling it Frisco, and I wanted to change my name, and I just heard that, and I thought, yeah, that sounds nice, so I might have to take that. So that's where Frisco comes from, and then I was always a dancer, so Boogie, from the dance of Boogaloo, a street dance, together Frisco Boogie, because I always wanted a kind of not double-barreled name, but a two name on there. And then later, probably about 9 years later, I met Supernatural from Jeru Buhdha, who's a really good friend of mine. Brought him over to do some recording and to do some live gigs in Nottingham and various places. And we got talking. I explained where I got the name from. We kind of, became a little bit friends from there. Performed on stage with him a few times, freestyling, going back to back. And then... full circle, when he came back to Nottingham a few years ago, I introduced him to my stepson Malik, who was in awe of this legend. Because you can argue about some people being genuine hip-hop legends, as in the culture of hip-hop. I don't mean MC legends or artist legends. I mean hip-hop legends, and you've got to put Supernatural in that bucket. You have to.
Do you have a top 5
for what he's done? MC top 5,
hip-hop top 5.
Okay, are we going there this early?
Well, yeah, straight away, because how you said it, you were like, I'm going hip-hop top 5 or MC top 5, but I thought, I'd like to know your hip-hop top 5, actually.
We discussed this, like, you had Fever on recently. Me and Fever have had this discussion, and people, if you're a hip-hop head, you have this discussion. The internet has this discussion.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because... when you hear people's top 5, especially big established artists that are interviewed, I always wonder, is your top 5 your top 5, or is it your political and business top 5? Because do you want to put someone in the top 5 because it might open a door for you? Because sometimes people mention top 5s and you think, if you're talking actual MCs to the art form, you can't possibly... put that person in a top 5. It's not possible. Now, of course, it's all based on opinion. Life's based on opinion. But you can't put certain people in the top 5. And I know I'll get stick for it. But you can't put Kanye in the top 5 MCs of all time. But people do.
Yeah.
You can put him in the top 5. I'd even say you could put him in top 5 producers of all time. You could put him in the top 5 artists that have changed the game probably of top 5. But as in MCing, being a master of ceremony, being a mic controller, wordplay, flow, lyrical dexterity, you can't put Kanye in the top 5, but people do. My top 5, I don't know if honestly, it depends what mood I'm in, but I'd have to go with not in order. And this is going to be difficult. Nas's got to be in there because he's one of my favourite all-time artists. And I think lyrically, the album he put out recently was smacking heads. You know, it was taking heads off compared to a lot of MCs these days. And the guy's in his late 40s and he's still making music that's like, wow. I'd have to put Tretch from Naughty by Nature in my top 5 of all time, because just flow alone and the confidence that backed that flow, regardless of what was being said, was second to none in hip hop. You know, and a lot of people used to, I think, front on Naughty by Nature and say, yeah, but they sold out and they were commercial. They didn't sell out. They just sold out. They sold well.
Wow. It's
you
a
know,
brilliant way of putting it.
If you look at OPP, it was talking about other people's sexual organs, other people's girls, other people's guys. It was like, that was an underground record. However, it just broke into a mainstream because people took it on board. Like Pharoah Monch, Simon Says, that was an underground record, but it broke mainstream. And then suddenly people say, oh, Pharoah Monch is sold out. No, he didn't. That's one of the probably the darkest MCs that's ever graced a mic. You know, I'd probably put Pharoah in my top 5. Rakim's got to be in my top 5. It's hard because your top 5 becomes a 6 and a 7. You got to put Cool G in there. You know, Drez from Black Sheep, Q-Tip, AZ. I can't. I really, depending on what mood I'm in, what music I want to listen to on the day, it's hard. I think it's hard to do a top 5. But I'd say top 5, you know, actual MCs to grab a mic. It's got to be Nas. It's got to be Tretch. You know, Pharoah Monch has got to be in there. But there's a million people you can mention. Dude. You know, Jay-Z for artistry and music. Jay-Z makes amazing songs. He makes amazing, you know, music. We've just had the conversation. If you notice, I've not put him in my top 10, top 5. Sorry.
I was waiting for him. I was sitting there patiently.
He's not going to be. He's not going to be there. I'm going to say for wordplay, for joining words together, for flow, yes, got to be. For music that I would bang in my car, for music that I would listen to constantly. After his first and second album, I couldn't put him there. Sonically, it doesn't do anything for me. And I know people give you flack for that the minute you mention that. Yeah. But to me, I want to hear a voice that I can listen to.
Which was the Eminem album where you thought, dude, what has happened to you?
I never thought of it like that. I just thought, I didn't hear anything that I thought, oh yeah.
Okay.
But lyrically, amazing. You've got to you know, top 3, if one, whichever way you want to put it. But I think sonically, to me, is of great importance when you talk about hip hop and music and putting tracks together. You've got MCs that have got beautiful voices, you know what I mean, amazing voices. Then you've got MCs that are great on a mic, but I don't particularly like the voice. You know, you listen to Guru from Gangstar, voice, lyrically, yeah, but not as lyrical, you know, intricacies as say Pharoah Monch. If you listen to Melly Mel, one of the greatest voices, actual voice, sound, sonically pleasing on the ear, amazing. For me, Rakim, his voice, come on, it's like a jazz instrument. Yeah, you know,
it really is.
It's beautiful. But then you've got people who, you know, lyrically are amazing, but I just don't like the sound of the voice, and it is just opinion, and that's what I love about hip hop. A top 5 on a Tuesday can be a top 5 different on a Friday because different things happen and different opinions come in, and it depends what kind of mood you're in. You know, I think from that point of view.
Well, mate, I love people of passion. People that have something that they're into and they're fully sold and committed and into it. And the fact you are this of hip hop world and the hip hop scene, it's just a part of you, isn't it? It's a huge part of who you are as a human.
I'd say, yeah.
I can feel it.
I guess I'd say that.
I enjoy meeting people on that premise so much. Whatever it is, if it's boxing, football, hip hop, I just go, I could listen all day. And then I want to pursue that route of, why does it mean so much to you? How did it become that? So could we go down that journey a little bit of what is your hip hop route? Where did you go with it? I know you're a performer, and bloody hell, mate, you've got a new fan today. And we've been listening to your stuff, and me and my partner go, Oh, I didn't know it was going to be incredible because you pinged me a message. You said like, oh, I like the podcast. Could we look at coming on? So then I'm going, yeah, of course, man. Me and Chrissy go to the gym together now, and we share our headphones. And I thought, oh, well, we must listen to Frisco Boogie
Nice,
you know,
nice.
he's coming on. And straight up, it was the 100 track.
Right. Okay.
And honestly, I'm a bit of an existentialist. I like my philosophy. I like thinking about life. And the way you condensed that into that track, it was just absolutely stunning. So really props to you on that.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate
And
that.
I want to hear how you got to that level in your whole spectrum. So tell me your accolades in hip hop. Tell me your journey. Tell me everything, man. I want to know.
This is a bit.
Your show, baby.
This is a bit. This is a bit. The accolades is a strange one because for me, it's always been. I'm gonna say it again. It's always just been about hip hop. It's always been about the feeling of either dancing or the feeling of you know, putting your name on a wall, or the feeling of the process of putting a track together, putting lyrics together, creating a beat. It's the process and the feeling that was always important to me. And I believe that if you feel it and you put everything into it, maybe other people will like it. But if they don't, as long as you like it, you can't be disappointed. If you create something for someone else and they don't like it, then that's two people that are disappointed because you didn't like it in the first place. So you made it for someone else, they don't like it, double disappointment. You know, that's why I look at it.
Cool attitude.
But it's always been the same. You make something, not selfishly, but you make something that you're happy with, give it to the world, and just see who's on your energy, who's on that wavelength with you. So for me, my hip hop journey started, well, when I was about 11. You know, from dancing, I saw people popping and people breaking, you know, as we call it in the day, until we started calling it what it is, b-boying. So I started dancing when I was probably about 11 or 12. You can tell I'm in my kind of later years of the hip hop game, you could say. And then at school, we all started learning raps. So the first rap that I really learned was Run DMC, Sucker MCs. 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to say some MC rhymes, so I said this.
I wish you didn't stop.
And it's weird. It is literally a cliche, but banging on the table, doing the drum beat. We did that. It's this, you know, great kind of hip hop myth that people say, well, did people actually do that? Well, yeah, we did. And then from there, you started taking it a little bit more seriously, and then groups started forming. So that was you know, at school, that's where sort of MC Logics, which is like Joe Buhdha and Law and Chisel and Ivan and Trevor, the dancers, and Clive, where they started forming as groups, and people started taking it seriously and then putting records out in the days when it was hard to put a record out because someone had to give you a bag of money to put a record out. It wasn't like today where you can record, upload, and you're there, which is great. And I'm not knocking it, because I wouldn't be doing this podcast now if we were still working the old way, because would I have the energy to do it? Maybe not. So it's a double-edged sword. It's great for that. But in the day where, you know, people were putting records out, it really took a lot more time to physically get that product out. So people started taking it seriously. Then I was playing drums at the time as well. I've always been into music, so I was in some funk bands, and the original band I was in,
Wow.
one of our names was called Vibes, and it's interesting who the band is because
Did it have a Z on the end? Yeah.
Did we? No, I think we did. Yeah,
Because you're a hip hop head and you like to change the words round.
I think we did.
Vibes.
I think we did.
Good.
We were called loads of names. We were called Controversy at one point, or Controversy, DNA Bass Movement. And in the band originally was Anthony Robinson, who some people may know as Pigeon, who is the bass player for Harley Blue, and Nick Stez, who works at CRS, who used to go under the name of Diamond, that did a lot of the beats for Out the Ville and Lee Ramsey and Scores, and I think he's done Jar Digger and he's done Two Tone. So me, Pigeon, and Nick were a band with a guy called Dave on guitar and a few other people along the way. But we were a funk band, and we nearly got signed to a record label in Manchester. I remember I was going up to Manchester, taking the bus, demo tape, as in tape, in office playing.
Back in
It was
day.
yeah, strange times. But we were a band, and then we kind of moved forward as a band, and then we split at one point. But by that time, there was a few other people that we were hanging around with. So Buhdha, I went to school with Buhdha, but by that time we were going to places like Cool Cat, and they were DJing there, and people had formed. So Nick and Pigeon, you know, did some stuff with Buhdha, and then Nick kind of went with Trevor and started doing stuff at COS, and then, you know, it formed loads of different kind of camps out from that. But we were all still doing music. I put a few records out under different names. There was a tune that I did with a guy called Dave Wyman, and we performed on Pebble Mill at 1, if some of the older listeners might remember that. It was a daytime BBC show, and we performed on Pebble Mill at 1 with that record we put out.
Wow.
Then from there, kind of brings us up to probably about the mid-90s. I met Styly C from doing a radio interview. So people know Styly C as in one half of Lost Island, because that was me and Styly, was Lost Island.
Wow.
So that was where our connection came. I was with a group that was with B-Rock and KID at the time, called Shoot the Gift. So if anybody remembers KID, Lloyd McDevitt, hip-hop legend in Nottingham, one of the best b-boys, full stop, in the UK. I remember Lloyd doing stuff that people had not seen at a very early age, and as an MC, as KID, incredible MC. So we were together, and then kind of branched off. I met Styly. We decided to do some songs together. We ended up forming a group, Lost Island, signing to Sun Records, and putting out our first album, various 12 inches, then putting out our first album that had Cappo on. That was the first time Cappo was on wax. It had a guy called Midnight on, that you listeners might be familiar with. Good friend of mine, you know, Midnight's on the Circus album, on Prize Fighters. That's me and Mid together. It's about 20 years after we did our last track, which is great to do.
Wow.
And then was with Some Records for a little while, and then me and Styly got to a stage where there was no creative differences. We just wanted different things, and we just thought, you know what, it was time to just stop doing Lost Island. I did some solo stuff, didn't really do a lot with it. I recorded, we're still making beats and recording, but didn't really push it because it was different then. It was, you know, it was in that time where vinyl was moving out, CDs were coming in, mini discs were coming in, and it was still not the internet age yet. We're still talking 2005, so YouTube's not even appeared yet on the scene. So
Really?
you got none of that. You got none of that. So
it was of existence, YouTube, but just not on the scene.
no, I think YouTube.
Really?
I think
After
YouTube's
that?
2005
Oh,
where
wow,
where
okay.
YouTube started. So it's before
Dude.
those times.
This
And then
Fascinating.
what happened? Then 2006, 7. Still did a few bits, but not a lot. Started dancing again in my late 20s. Started dancing again, started training again, popping, going to various dance events and dance jams. Then started hosting some of the dance jams around the UK and in Nottingham. So was on the dance scene for quite a while, moving like from that street dance kind of element. Had a dance academy in Netherfield for probably about a year. 2000 and that's my memory now. About 2010, 11 it would have been. And then carried on doing that for a little while. And then started writing again. And it's weird. As an MC, you get to the point, because I've never been, as we'd had the conversation before we got onto the bus, because we were talking about conscious rap, and you're like, yeah, you're very, very conscious rap. But a lot of my stuff used to be straight punches. I was a punchline rapper for quite a long time. So literally, it was all about punchlines. And I kind of got to the stage where I didn't want to write that, because I was like, I don't really just want to write stuff that doesn't mean anything. So I stopped writing for a while. And then I met Nick Stez again at Russell Youth Club when I was painting. I was graffitiing in the back there, which you're allowed to paint. And Nick came out and we just started talking, and we did a couple of tracks together.
Wow.
And that just didn't do anything with him, but it just put us on that path to, okay, let me go and do something. And from there, I bought some equipment, started writing again. In between that, a guy called Chat One, who I did the Internal Masquerade album with, hit me up on Facebook, said, I know your stuff, do you want to work together and do some? And I thought, do you know what, yeah, let's see what we can do. Did that album, put it out, didn't promote it at all. I didn't do a lot with that at all, because I was still, I don't know, it was just weird. I'm not going to say I was not in the frame of mind, I just didn't really know where to go with it, and I wasn't as active promoting it. Did a few radio interviews and things like that, but didn't do anything major. So that's 2017. A little bit after there, started writing, really getting my pen again and writing. Did a few tracks, and then Kamal, stepson, said, why don't you just do an album? I don't know if he'll even remember that, but and they were like, well, why do you do an album? I was like, oh, don't be silly, man, I can't. And then I just started putting more tracks together and thinking, okay. And then that was Masks of the Morning Sun, which was quite personal on some of the records, because my mum had passed away, my dad had passed away, got records with them, talking about them on. Then after that, I was only going to do that and then just see what happens. But it kind of draws you in again. And then I started writing Rainbows in the Rubble. That did a little bit better. And then I was like, I'll just keep going till I'm bored, till I've got nothing to say. And the minute I've got nothing to say, then I'll shut up and won't say anything. But it's really interesting, because the more you, and this is for some of the more youthful artists, the more you don't stress it, the more you get. So the politer you are, the more you don't stress about it, the more you get. And the reason I say that again is because I'll put the record out and then that's it. Listen to it, don't listen to it, do what you want with it. But then people started messaging saying, yeah, I like this. And I'd send it through reviews thinking maybe someone will pick it up. But, you know, I'm sending it out to, I was 47 at this point, I'm sending it out to reviewers that are in the 20s, reviewing Kanye albums and, you know, like Little Yachty albums. And I'm like, you're not going to... And then I had a few reviews come back and people going, we like this. And I was like, what? Okay, that's cool. And then just kept sending. And then, you know, be honest, got a bit brave and thought, right, I'll just message people and say, can I do this? Do you fancy doing this? Fancy doing this? And it was interesting because I never looked at it this way. But I'd send a message saying, used to be in Lost Island. And quite a few people, yeah, man, I remember then. Oh, my God, you... And I was like, what? It still gets me now. I'm like, what, do you remember that? And they're like, yeah, of course we do. Because you don't realise what impact your music has on someone until a long time after. Really. Because I had no idea. But when I think about it, we had people that saying, yeah, that Lost Island, that's one of my 12s. I love that. Mike Life 12. And I remember Mista Jam saying years ago that was one of his favourite 12s, Mike Life. And I'm like, what? Because to me, it's you do it and you put it out. Yeah. And then, you know, it's like a meal. I can't eat it with you. You've got to eat it. And you tell me if you like it. But I can't eat it with you. I'll just make it and then you...
And you never know when it comes to somebody at that point. Because, I mean, same with a podcast. I've had a lovely message the other day from somebody. And they're like, oh, dude, I was in such a bad place. You wouldn't believe how important your words were. And then I went, oh, yeah, he was a great guest. Because I thought they were referring to somebody that was the last week guest. But no, it was somebody of 2 years ago. Like, it was somebody, one of the first podcasts we did. And they just saw a little random clip of mental health and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, that's so profound of just being able to put stuff out and have it as a forever thing then.
But that's one thing that I don't think we think about these days. Because we're in... I try not... It's hard not to sound like it's a criticism. But we're in a very, very fast-moving society now. We're in the internet age makes me sound really old, but we're in an age where it's there and then the next thing's there and then the next thing's there. You know, what they say, kind of, you know, nature always fills a void. So if there's a gap, someone's in there. So you put something out and the next thing's there, the next thing. So, but I'm still from the era of you made something that you're making that's not for today. It's for whenever. Yes. So if you make a song, it's not to stand the test of time, because I hate that cliche. But I just want to make some music that in 2 years you might listen and go, yeah, man, that was all right. Yeah. And it's not about being timeless. It's just about making music that you like from your heart and putting it out there. But too much now, I say, well, yeah, your new project's here, so forget the old one. But actually, people pick up the old one and say, do you know when you wrote that?
Where
Like,
were you at?
on Master Morning Sun, there's a track called Broken Skies, which is about my mum passing. And about I went for some counselling, and it's about that. And I remember someone hitting me up saying, that record made me listen to music in a little bit of a different way.
Wow.
But I'm like...
What a compliment that is.
No, but I'm like, what? What? Really? But then it hits you that actually, when you do start writing, what you write, people really listen to. But it's a bit of a powerful punch to the face, because then you think, okay, people are actually listening. It's different. You know, writing a tune in your bedroom, recording it and putting it out. People listen, and it sounds stupid to say that, but it's weird because you think someone's going to hear that and go, okay, woo, or the same way as I listen to an artist, and I might hear a line and go, that got me, that did. Someone might be doing that to my stuff, which still baffles me that I might write someone and someone, I'm like, really? But someone might listen and go, ooh, that line got me, and you're like, wait a minute, that's the power of your pen at times and your pen game. It's quite scary, in fact, what you can write. And I imagine, the top tier massive artists, they must get messages all day long with people saying your music did this, and you can't take that for granted. If you have one person, if you write a song and one person says, do you know what, I listened to that tune, it lifted me up for the day, job done.
Yeah, amen. That
Close
is
the book.
exactly
Job done.
what I write for.
Job
That
done.
one person.
Yeah, because I might be the one person for another artist that
Yeah.
says, oh, you smashed that, and I just listened to that, and that got me through that day.
Yeah.
If you do that one person, that's powerful. But at the time of writing, you don't think that. You don't think, I'm writing this to uplift. You just say, I'm writing it because I want to get it out, and I want to
Yes,
express what's in my
cathartic.
head. So I'm just going to keep writing, and I'll make a beat. There's no science behind beat making. I don't care what anybody says. You make a beat from the sample you find, and it bangs or it doesn't. There's no science in this. And people try and break it down. There isn't. It works or it doesn't. And that inspires you to write a certain way over it. Or you write a lyric and it works or it doesn't. But you never throw it away because it just doesn't work today. But it might work tomorrow. What do they always say? Like, one man's dusk's another man's dawn. It is different times of the day. You
I'm
you
so happy
think
you
differently.
came on this bus today. Man. I think you're mint.
But it's different, isn't it? When, one day you wake up, you look at yourself, you think, oh my God, I look awful. Life's horrible. You wake up the next day, you look the same to everyone. Don't fucking kid yourself. Pardon the French, but don't kid yourself. You look the same, but you just look at yourself differently, and you think, yeah, man, today's going to be live. It's going to be fire. But then an hour later, you pass the mirror again and go, oh, it's shit, innit? You look the same. It's just how
Your perception is.
Yeah, and timing.
Yeah.
Timing's everything.
Yeah.
So, for me, the pen things, I got writing again. So we've digressed, but I got writing again and kind of just feel I've got a few things to say. And, when you run out, you run out. But now I little things happen. I think, yeah, I can write that. And it's therapy. It really is therapy.
Yeah.
For me to just go and get it out and put it and then leave it. And all the albums have kind of a little bit of a thread. Like Masks of the Morning Sun was me, the years that had kind of gone loosely. You might listen to it and go, I don't get that thread, but loosely going through a bit of a shit time at times. And, Morning Loss, and that was where the Morning Sun came from. Let's play on words. Then the next album was Rainbows in the Rubble, and it was like, actually, things getting a bit brighter. I'm searching for them little bits that are getting brighter. And then the circus was just about the last 18 months. Shit, life just went
Seriously.
for 90% of people. It was like,
Yeah.
what's just happened? Who would have thought you would have been being told you can't go out of your house?
Inconceivable. Yeah.
Never happen. Yeah, like when people say the internet will never go down, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Everything's possible.
You'll never run out of food. No,
Everything.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
We've got
Yeah.
enough water forever.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Planet's
Isn't
fine. Dude, honestly, there is so much to pick apart with everything you just said then. So I'm going to attempt to, because what a story. And I am so inspired by everything you've just said. where I'm gonna go with it, and again, there was infinite possibilities of direction to go.
Go on.
Is that 11-year-old kid? Why did you feel so strongly towards the hip hop scene and culture? Was it in your household? Was your family sort of?
Okay, let's do that rewind on the remote control element.
Yeah.
If you think about it, 11 years old, then we didn't really know what hip hop was.
Yeah.
We knew what breakdancing was because we'd seen breakdancing. We knew what kind of rap was because we'd seen Rapper's Delight and we'd seen the early 80s rap records. We'd seen tags, but we didn't know this because there was no internet. There was no Facebook. There was no YouTube to go and research. There was no internet. So any of them younger listeners, there was no internet.
No.
So you only got Top of the Pops. And me and my wife, Louise, I've got to shout out my baby Louise. We talk about this at times. You only saw popping or dancing on maybe Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
So the Jeffrey Daniels backslide, aka the moonwalk, as I would say, but it's Jeffrey Daniels backslide. Candy Girl video, Shaka Khan, I Feel For You with Ozone and Turbo in. That's the only time you saw this. Hey You the Rocksteady Crew, Malcolm McLaren. When you saw these videos, you saw the dance. If you didn't see them, you didn't see it unless you went somewhere. So the fact that you lived it, we didn't know it was a culture. To us, it was going to Rock City on a Saturday afternoon, which is legendary. At school, at break time, and I mean literally every break time, lunchtime, whenever, you'd be moving tables and you'd be practicing. Get your kagul on, you'd be spinning on.
That's the thing though. There'd be all the kids outside still playing football, and there've got to be people doing other bits and bobs. You know what I mean? There's other, even though there's not internet and so on, there's passions and hobbies and things like that going on. Why weren't you out on that football yard? Why were you out there?
I never checked for football. Anybody knows me knows. I don't check for football. I'm not into football at all.
But you navigated straight to the musical.
It was always It was always the artistic over the sportsmanship. I used to.
Was
swim.
it like a feeling though you got when you started doing the tap in and you thought, oh, I'm loving this.
It just made sense.
Dance and everything. It just
made sense. It just made sense when
hard to break down a passion, isn't it? Like why I felt such a way towards it.
Do you know when you feel content when you do something?
That's just such. Oh, I love what you said
you feel content. I remember I must have been about 8-9 years old, and I had 2 sticks. And and the worst thing is half of these sound like really bad cliches, but it's true. I had 2 sticks, and I had some orange buckets, some pots and pans, and my mum had an old record player, and my brother was into Adam and the Ants. And then he was into Prince, but he was into Adam and the Ants. And I remember I'd put on Adam and the Ants, Dirt Wears White Socks, or Kings of the Wild Frontier. And there was always 2 drummers in Adam and the Ants, so it had a totally different kind of feel. And I'd bang away. And that's where that came from. Right. And I remember sitting in my living room for hours, literally just banging on these, winding my mum up and probably winding my dad up. And then I remember my mum said, I want a drum kit. And the noise was going to be the issue. So my mum went, if you want it, you save for it. Knowing that, do you know what I mean? Like, by that time, I think I was 11 at secondary school. Where's an 11-year-old kid going to get the money for a drum kit? But I was like, right, all right, I'm having this kit. And I remember saving birthday money, Christmas money, lunch money, walking home from school at times, going home and eating if mum had gone out, and then leaving the house to get back to school to save your lunch money till the day I got enough money to buy a drum kit. And then I remember going and saying, I've got enough money, I've seen a kit in the paper. We're talking ads in the paper. Yeah. Seen a kit, I think it was something like £120, an old Premier kit. And saying to my dad, can we go and get it? Went and got it. And it was one of those really strange feelings, I bet, for my mum. God bless her soul, for my mum, because it was that, I can't believe you've done it, but yeah, you did it. Because I don't want you to have a noisy drum kit. But wait a minute, that showed some dedication to actually do that, to get it. It's a really, really strange one. If you know that, I want to throttle you, as my mum would say, but I want to hug you to say, well done.
Your resilience, your dedication.
So then I got a kit and that was it.
Wow.
Started drumming. And that took me to many places, to be honest. And I've always had the love of of drums and stuff like that from that point of view.
Sound.
Yeah, and I think that got you into the hip hop and dancing, and it was something to do. I've always wanted to do things. I've always needed to be busy and do. And hip hop, there's two ways to look at hip hop. One, I hate the word fan, but one, you are an observer and you're in it and you love it and you are a hip hop head. And then there's the people who create the hip hop, that do the hip hop. Some people hate on the people who don't do any hip hop things, but I don't, because do you know what? If you love the music, you love the dance, you love graffiti, you love MCing, but you don't do any, so be it. A football fan doesn't have to play football, can be the most passionate man about that game. Same with hip hop. You don't have to do.
I can't believe people don't like it. I
But
mean,
I
without
think-
them people existing, you know, you can't just have creators everywhere all the time.
Because then everyone would
it's too full.
be doing. Yeah, so it's, you know,
saturates it.
and I think it was just the fact of always having to want to do some things, and it was just the creative aspect of it. And I was never into football. I wasn't into sports, you know.
I suppose that's where my question transcend from, because, you know, my envy towards you is I've had lots of passions, lots of hobbies and interests, but not to the extreme of where you're at with hip hop. And I feel a little, I wished I'd had a pursuit like that, because when I did boxing, I was really into boxing, but then I found girls and I was really into that. And then, you know, my story, and I'll only breeze it, but I hated writing with a passion. I didn't care about music really, but I went travelling and I had no real purpose or passion. But I got a phone call from my dad one day and he just said, "I'm really sorry, mate, but your mate's been stabbed in a knife crime incident." And I'm one of those, the only certificate left school with was I'm dyslexic. So I particularly stayed away from writing. But this one day when I was away, I had no friends to communicate with, nobody to talk about, I did the craziest thing for me, which was writing. And it felt incredible. I'd never had anything touch me like that touch me. So it was cathartism, and I just ran around writing everything down. And I was 22 at this point, so really quite late on in my story. And that was it. I felt like I was equipped with a superpower. So I'm hurtled in to rap and hip hop then, because I want to find everywhere who's been writing, where's poetry come from, where's this come from. So I'm quite new to the game anyway.
But you found it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this is a strange thing, and this is, I'm toying with this at the moment, and Louise would probably say at times I sound quite bitter, because you get to an age where you think maybe I shouldn't be doing because I'm at a certain age. But do you know what? When you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they didn't find their passion, their purpose. So take the word passion out and put the word purpose in. Something that, if you believe, I'm not religious, but if you believe in divine intervention, someone that says, actually, you got hit that day and you suddenly went, whoa, this is me. This is what I'm meant to do. Some people don't get that until late in life. Whereas maybe it's just the way we look at it from society, that we've got this, you work, you go school, you leave, you go uni, you get a job, you work 9 to 5, you have some hobbies, you have a midlife crisis, you retire, you then say, I'm going to travel, you move to a bungalow, however that's what I am doing, and then you die. So it's mapped.
Yeah.
But why? If you suddenly realise, wait a minute, this is my thing, you realised. It's like, for me, saying, I'm 49, I should stop this, but I enjoy it. So I'm always toying with, should I, shouldn't I? But while I'm enjoying it, why should I stop? Some of the most successful billionaires were broke when they were 40.
Yeah.
You know, were broke when they were, 45, and then suddenly clicked, and now they're 65 and they're sitting on 20 billion. If someone had said, yeah, but 45, you passed it, you might as well give up because you haven't found your passion. Okay, I'll give up. And if you give up, that's it. So you've missed out on 20 billion because someone told you that you're too old, or because you haven't found it yet, you won't. There's a story that I use at work at times because I have a proper job.
God damn it.
I'll put that in. There's a story I use at work to do with belief, and it's about a lady called Laura Schultz, and it's a true story. and she was about 69 years old, and in America, I think it's Tallahassee, and she looked out of a window, and she saw a Buick, so a big truck, roll onto her grandson who was about 5 years old, you know, threatening his life. And she got out of the house and she picked up the back of this truck. Now, some people would have said it's a miracle, it's divine intervention, you know, the Lord was with her there. Whatever you want to say, it's impossible, but adrenaline's an amazing thing. And she did this and saved her grandson's life, and never ever spoke about this incident, ever. Till a young reporter, and loads of reporters wanted to speak to her about it, because it's a miracle. And a young reporter knocked on her door, and she liked the look of him, thought, you know, you like my grandson, I'll let you in, but I'm not talking about the incident, but come and have a cup of tea. So he went in, and he said, okay, I'm not going to ask you about it, but what I am going to ask, why do you not talk about it? And her answer was, I'm 69 years old, and I did something I didn't think no one thought was possible. So instantly I was filled with a lifetime of regret on what didn't I try? What didn't I try? Because if I tried it, I might have done it. But I thought, I can't, it's impossible. It's mad, isn't it? And I use this at work at times. But when I first heard it,
I won't forget that.
from a gentleman called Jack Canfield, who's like a bit of a Tony Robinson kind of, you know, life coach guru kind of thing, it made me go, wow. And the guy, the interviewer says to her, well, what do you want to be? She says, I like rocks. I want to be a geologist. And he says, so why don't you? She went, I'm 69 or whatever age it was. He went, yeah, but you could still go and study now. And she ended up going to study late in life and ended her life as a geologist. So she fulfilled what she wanted to do. But it was that little incident that made her think, what happens if I had tried all these things and I didn't? That's like, you know, when you think, what am I not trying that I could do, but I don't because of my self-doubt or self-belief is just not there. You know, it's one of those, you know, if you think you're right, you're right. If you think you're wrong, you're wrong. You just got to think something, haven't you?
I've heard some fables on here before, and that's one of my favourites. That's one that I will take away.
It's just strange, but it also made me go, wow, what happens if, you know?
And when you say you've been toying with that emotion and that feeling of I'm this age and how you feel, are you pretty much more on the side of, but I'm enjoying it, that's how it's going to be?
Depends what day it is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it depends what day I am, if, you know, we're going to be on it, if we're really, this is like a therapy session.
Definitely.
There's times when I've really thought, but I'm really getting to a stage now where I'm like, actually, it's a good thing. Because you've got the experience and you can try and just, it sounds really patronising and like you up your own arse, but try and guide people at times or give them a little bit of advice because you've seen certain things, instead of trying to still keep up and do what the you know, the younger generation are doing. Because for me, it was all about that. You're trying to be relevant and you're trying to stay relevant. And it got to a stage where I thought, do you know what? Yeah, maybe I am. But then on the flip side, my thing was, my hip-hop heroes are still doing writing, dancing, so why can't I? Until someone says, you're too old and the hip-hop book closes, why should I stop doing what I'm doing? Because...
And even then, I'd still keep going.
Yeah, because you can make tunes in your bedroom.
Dude.
As long as you make tunes in your bedroom, who cares?
Mean, honestly, I know where the music scene's at now. I know certain trends are as they are, but... You know, as people mature, they need healing, they need helping, they need wisdom. Wisdom is the most important thing. And for people to gain wisdom, have to go through experience. And you've been through every experience, you know, not possible, but imaginable for you and your journey. So that maturity that can come through in your artistry and your music, for especially I'm 27, but for me and these sort of people, we're quite existential people. We need to be told where we're going. That's who I want to listen to.
Right, and it's interesting you brought that up. I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a family friend of ours, and I've known her through the dance scene. I've done a lot of work with her and her partner Gaz and Jazz. Yeah, they're called actually Gareth and Jazz.
Sick.
It's great. And Jazz was saying, in a class, teaching someone at times, there's people who want to know the history of the move, and there's people who just want to know the move. And this is something we've always spoken about. And it got to the point where I tried to put it, do you know what? There's some people that will want to run with the torch. So you've got the torch and they'll want to carry on that torch. Then there's other people who will just want to be in the light of that torch. Just be in I don't need to know where it's going. I just need to have the light and I just want it now. And do you know what? They're both fine. Not everyone wants to know history. Not everyone wants to know who the first MC was. Where did Nas get his, his style influence from? Where did M get his style influence from? You don't need to know that. But some people want to know.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, if you do or you don't, you're right.
Yeah.
If you do, and we can maybe pass some on and say, do you know what, this is what we used to do, take it or leave it, that's fine. If you don't want to listen, it's fine, don't listen. But it's taken me a while to get to that stage where I'm comfortable to go, that's cool if you don't want to listen. Because if not, you can come across as old and bitter. Because you're like, in the day, and I hate the phrase, back in the day, in the old school. I'm not old school, I'm just old. There's a difference. I'm still a student of hip-hop. I'm not old school. I'm just, I like to class it true school. I'm a hip-hop head.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love hip-hop. But I'm not old school, but I'm old. If I can still write bars that, any generation can listen to and maybe appreciate, how can I be old school? If I was on a mic going hip hop, you could say I'm rapping old school, but I'm not. I'm just making music that is of my time, whichever way you want to take it. It's of me now, but it's of the genre and the age that I liked music. So I'm going to make, why am I not going to make that music?
I adore what you said then. I feel a lot of people in cliques, or particularly when they get into something so passionately, and they find a purpose, everyone should feel the same way about it. I can equate it to boxing. I just love punching and getting punched. That was a big part of my nature. But then when you go and speak to old school boxers at all the events that I've been to, and I'd win a few, I'd lose a few, but I just love being in there. There was no more adrenaline rush for me. But then they'd be talking to you about all these old boxers, and have you watched that, have you watched that? And I'm sort of blank-faced at them, and then they just write you off. You think, but I can talk to you about the technique side, and I could talk to you about my training side and all that, and it's the nuances that they wanted to hear about. It's the specification of it, like the all them sides of it. And I thought, no, I just really like it. I just want to be involved in it, and
that's fine.
Horses for courses.
Do you know what?
We can
to
connect
just
on whatever.
Like it. When has that not been good enough anymore?
Yeah.
But there are some people who want to know everything about it, and that's cool. But then the people who I just like it. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's those two sections. But I feel we always want people to have the same passion as we do.
Yeah.
Because then you share something. But the person who runs the $1 billion company will not have the same, the person who runs a $1 billion company will have a different passion for the person who works for them. But they will expect them to have the same passion. But why are they going to?
Yeah.
You earn £15 an hour.
Yeah.
He's sitting on 20 billion. Why are you going to have the same passion for this company as him? Of course you're not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. But the $20 billion man wants you to, because if you have the same passion, you're making more money. You want people to share the passion, but they might not do. And do you know what? When we actually think about it, if everyone just did what they wanted and don't hurt anyone, harm anyone, it'd be cool.
But you can find commonality, though, even though you want to engage on them intricacies in that specific topic. You can go, okay, you're not really into the history and how it formulated and how this came, but you seem to be really into the writing aspect. So you can totally go into that dimension of it. And then as you've made a connection, they go, well, tell me about that thing, how it actually came about. Because that's for me in poetry,
Yep.
I got into it through desperation and the need to write and get my thoughts out, and I never felt that way before. But honestly, I got kicked out of school. But if you'd have put a poem in front of me with the enthusiasm I've got for poetry now, I would have been all over that. I would have been, who's this Wordsworth fella, and where's he come from,
Right.
and why was he writing that? But back in the day, how they put it to me was, here's a writer, read about him, we need to learn it. I don't care. But now, second I turn myself into a writer, I care about other writers then. I want to know what they're up to. So.
Because it was parcelled. Things are parcelled in different ways. But don't you think we go to school at the wrong time in our life?
Amen.
You're 16.
Yeah.
When you get to your exams time, your hormones kick in. So you're about, I don't want to say, girls or boys, but you're about like sex. So you get to an age where you're not concentrating on anything because it's either about girls or it's about boys, whichever way you want, it's fine. That's all. But then they're expecting you to do exams. And exams, by the nature of them, or when we did exams, it was all about the exam. So if you forget something or write it a minute late, that can affect your whole future. That's not education. That's not learning. That's remembering. There's a difference between... there's a difference between taking on information, understanding it, being able to relate it back to someone, dissecting it, rationalizing it, performing it, than just remembering it. Multiple choice questions are easy because you've got a chance of getting something right.
Yeah.
But we study at the wrong time in life, and you're right. Someone puts a poet, and you're going, "What's that?" But if it was parcelled in a different way, you might have gone, "Oh." Like if that had been for me, if they'd put a poem down, I'd gone, "What? Poetry? Come on." But if they'd gone, "This is some Run DMC lyrics," even if it wasn't, I probably would have gone, I'm just have a look at that a minute, because it's in the way I
means something to you.
Yeah, and you're right. And going back to what you originally said, whenever you get your passion, you just got to feel blessed that you got it. Because there are some people that go their whole life and never actually find their purpose. Maybe they're not meant to have it. Maybe their purpose is just to exist, and some people are meant to be purposeful. I don't know. But you found it. So you got to feel blessed that, and you found it young. You're 22. What are you talking about? 22. You're like 22.
Mate, 100%. I love what you said there on education, though. I'm quite passionate about education because I had such a awful time of it. And somebody picks a curriculum, probably some upper class person, here's a bunch of things you need to remember, and then what happens 5 years later, sieve gone. How purposeless is that? How meaningless is that? But if you can infuse people with all these ideas of what it means to be passionate, what it means to have purpose, of what it means to be a human, this is the direction I want to be going. And luckily I do get to go into schools and have that little imprint and marker at certain places. But how you just articulated that, it filled my heart, man. It filled my heart. I love that. It's
interesting. You can't ignite passion in someone unless there's something that's waiting to burn. It's like you go in, and I can see you in a school, and you seem like a really passionate guy on certain things. And that's why sometimes it hurts, because you think, why aren't people as passionate as me? Why? Maybe we've not ticked that box, or we've just sparked that little thing to make them go, oh, now you've got me. Like when your dad's, and you wrote something when
integral moment.
Something went boom.
Vital part of my existence. One of the things I say when I do an assembly is what you're seeing today in front of you isn't a guy coming up and going, everybody be a poet, because that's where I see people get it wrong. Because it's your passion, they want them to also reciprocate that feeling that you've got. I say, no, that isn't what you got today. You're watching somebody that gets to come and share his passion, is passionate about what this skill is. Go and find your own. Go and find what ticks you, what makes you go. But when you see me on stage and I'm moving or I'm dancing about and doing a poem, what you're seeing now is just passion. It's nothing of a guy coming and saying, do this. It's saying, go and find something you enjoy and you like. And that's what I think people need to be more in on, is helping people find their seeds and stuff like that.
It's finding your lane, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
Like someone said, it's funny at work at times, I use football analogies, but I don't like football. Weird. But it's like, people say about David Beckham, this is a stereotype, it's not meant to be. Not the most intelligent guy. That's what people say.
Yeah.
But his intelligence is his left foot and his right foot. Yeah. That's his physical intelligence. So his niche is being able to kick a ball into a goal better than 90% of anybody else. That's put him where he is. That's made him, put him on a platform to be able to influence and do a lot of good things. The same way as someone writes a book on, life coaching or self-learning, that's their way to influence people and maybe make people's lives better. It doesn't have to be the same as someone else. It's like when you say you've got passion, your passion doesn't have to be the same as all those children, as you say. But if they think, wow, I wish I was that enthusiastic about something, you've got them a little bit. You're like, okay, so what would that be? I don't know. Okay, so we need to find that out, or you need to find that out, because the minute you find it, you got. The minute you find that, you don't want to lose that passion for things, and then it starts going into other areas of your life, because you realise that enthusiasm actually helps in life more than people think. If you're enthusiastic, you can get through things.
Yeah.
You know, it's that bullshit until, what is it? Fake it till you make it. Someone comes in dead enthusiastic, they know what they're on about. Yeah. They might have no idea, but they're the one at the front of the queue that wants to know all the information, so they're probably going to get whatever you ask them to do done.
And it is crazy. I mean, I can relate this to the poetry sessions I've done, but you get these youngsters and they come to you and they're like, I'm not doing this. I hate poetry. I can't be bothered. Hate it. And then you go, well, I'm sure there's passion in there. I'm sure there's something of interest or there's enthusiasm there. So I'll look at, what do you like then? What do you, not a lot. So then suddenly you start mentioning a couple of things that you can get their currency, gain their currency. And suddenly, after an hour or 2 hour workshop, they've wrote a whole poem about something they've enjoyed, but also the byproduct, they've got a poem out of it as well. So they've got multiple interests and multiple capabilities, but they just haven't been sort of dug into because, looking at art, I hate art. Do you like fishing? Yeah, I love fishing. Draw a fish. It can be that simple.
The poetry thing's really interesting, because you'll say, do you like poetry? No. Okay, so who's on your Spotify list? Well, I'm listening to Stormzy, I'm listening to Gigs, I'm listening to, a drill artist. Okay, so basically what are they doing if you take the music away? They're spitting bars, okay? So what is spitting bars? Well, tell them about life, okay? In what form? So it rhymes, okay? So the basic form of a poem is lines that rhyme or don't have to rhyme, that rhyme about something someone wants to tell you. Yeah. So are they not the same thing? Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, they are. Okay.
I'll tell you what, the best workshop I've ever been to see and then I take into places now is we use lyricism, but straight up it's called form poetry. It's made by the Beat Poets, I think, in the 60s. Okay. But what they do is just get news articles, cut them up, and then put a fan on in the room or just throw them about, and then they just collect and start making that into a poem.
Ooh, I like that.
So what we do is get them in a group of 5. Imagine this in a primary school, and then they've got 3 bits of paper each, and I say, right, we're going to pick 3 different lines from 3 different songs. But first of all, before that, I tell them why I'm going to choose meaningful lyrics, and I sort of tell them my favourite lyrics, like "Dry Your Eyes, Mate," or "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Just give them a bit of influence and talk about the journey of my favourite lyric and why it came to be. So because I built it up to a bit more of a meaningful thing rather than I'm going to choose Crazy Frog or Duck Duck whatever. They start being a bit more conscious with the way they go about it. So you got this group of 5 and they've all picked 3 different lyrics each from 3 different songs, and then they put them into balls of paper, throw them at each other, and then the first one we pick is the one that we stick it down, and that's the first line of the poem. But then we get them all, and then we pick and stick, pick and stick, and it makes a random poem. But I've done it, must have done it over 500 times now in loads of different places. It's never not worked. This random poem, everybody's created out of nothing, and them kids that are particularly the ones that like, I'm not doing it. They love it so much. And
different. It's a different way of putting it across.
And the next activity they're in, that they want to do, they're like, oh, what we're doing next, what we're doing now. So it's very possible. You've just got to go further than what you know.
You just got to find that. You've got to find that wick to light that candle to that, so it burns. But it's just finding that, which is the skill, isn't it? And sometimes you find it by mistake. Yeah. People find their passion by mistake at times and go, wow, I never realised this. Oh my God, I love this. Other people look for it and never find it. I suppose it's just where you're on and what journey you're on,
So I want to go in now with your projects and so on. Are you in flow with it? Have you got much coming out? Are you planned to where you're gonna go with it?
Yeah, kind of. I at the moment, the circus album's out at the moment. Doing the rounds. I've recorded about, I'd say, about 12 tracks that for the next album. So I've got the title for the next album. I've got it's not a concept album, but I've got the loose kind of, it sounds stupid, the loose concept of how I want it to sound, the soundscape. I just want it a lot more to be mellower than the circus, because I think some of the beats are quite abrasive and quite so I just want to mellow it out. I want to do something that, you could maybe just drive around to in the sun. And I don't mean, I don't know how to articulate this. I don't mean throwaway music, but just something that's a little bit lighter on the ears. And then I've started I kind of class it as like a straight spitting like project where I just want some boom bap beats, and I'm just gonna like spit some shit, really, But I find that hard to write these days, as we were talking about, when it used to be punchlines and it was just all about I'm this and you're that rap. That's how I used to always call it. I struggle to write that now, which people would think it's going to be easier because there's not a lot of there's no message in some of that type of rap, and that was always my favorite kind of rap to do. But I just got to the stage where I wanted to write something that I thought was a bit more meaningful.
Why?
Maybe because I'm of an age where I thought it needed to be.
Yeah, why has it developed so much through time? Why was it at one stage just throwaway lyricism that didn't mean anything to, I'm going to start writing from the heart now? Or
I wouldn't say it was throwaway lyricism, but it wasn't subject. There wasn't the subject matter that I would talk about on the last few albums. It's just you grow up.
Yeah.
You change, don't you? You can't, and I think if I was to come out now on some of the, I don't know, some of the lyrical styles that I used to do, people would go, "What are you trying to kid? You're not 20 no more. You can't, But sometimes you just want to flow over a beat and you just want to spit. You just want to tell someone, like Littles. Me and Littles, it's funny because I know you had him on your podcast. And
great guy.
Oh, do you know what? I remember when we were in the band, his dad was in another band at the same time. The same as Juggernaut's dad was in a band the same time as we were in bands. So it's like a next generation thing. So I love Littles to pieces. And I met him in the Co-op car park. And it was the weirdest thing because it looked so dodgy. We sat in my car and I played in my project. Then we sat in his car and he played in his project. And we just listened. And he said to me, I just want to write something to tell people that I'm coming for you. I'm not messing. And I was like, I know what you mean, but I don't really write that anymore. But sometimes you just want to think, I just want to spit. I just want some MC shit where I just tell people straight, I don't know, just that blazing mic stuff. Do you know what I mean? I blade mics and rip them into bits. I'm seized in on a battle, but I'm not with the bits. And you just want to spit.
Yeah.
But I don't find that as, I don't listen to a lot of music as much like that. I want to hear something that makes me go, yeah, ooh. Maybe it's just, it must be an age thing. You get to an age where I want to write something that I can leave and people listen and go, yeah, I got the message in there. And,
It's funny, because I've only never known writing from a conscious standpoint. Like, I wanted to tell my story, but then as it's developed through its stages, I wanted to bring people on board so they could take something away from it and hopefully gain something, like speaking to that one person, and they can go away with it. But as that built, I sort of went, I'm running out of things to say to an extent. I mean, there's only so much you can pour your heart out or emotionally drive yourself and speak on that sort of term and that existentialism before you have to actually start living again to gain the experience to come back and report about. And I'd stopped living that experience. I started just trying to write. So I went off and lived again a little bit. And yeah, my writing started flaring back up a bit. But what you're talking about, actually, I've never wrote for just the fun of it. Just the flair and the fun. And how you're talking now, honestly, to this degree, I want to go in and now, and I just want to start writing some funny stuff.
I find that hard now, just to write some, and some of the lyrics are. I'm not going to say, I never write like that, but then just to like the Eternal Masquerade, the intro one that was literally straight spitting. I'll hit you with the ultra sarcastic, would have put you in a casket flow. You're trying to blaze me with an anti-fantastic flow. You're begging for the slow-mo to try and catch this flow. Even toe-to-toe, you wouldn't be close enough to snatch this flow. I spit that holy water like Sodom and Gomorrah. You'll get caught up in a slaughter like you... Daughter. I turn the crowd against you. When I do what I do, I leave them screaming, nothing compares like Sinead do. I'm barely with a crew, I roll with a few man deep. When I start to speak, it's like armies in the street. I don't bang them nines, if I did, I'd shoot you first. I bang out them rhymes, I'ma shoot you with a hot verse. Cyanide 16 specific with the perps. I'll make you go berserk like a billion scorpions up your skirt. I don't claim to have them just straight spitting.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't really do that. I don't do that anymore. And I used to be like, yeah, get them punches. Now I'm more. I hear a beat and I think I want to make kind of a song, a piece of music.
Yeah.
Like it's funny you said to me 100's one of your favourites that you've heard. To me, that's kind of like a straight spitting tune because it's just freestyle. There's not a lot. There's no big theme to it or anything.
There was just genuine little moments, little nuggets in there.
Oh, there's some in there.
I kept going. Oh, that's a line that I'm taking away.
My favourite line in that is, a wise man's prepared to you to think he's not wise.
Yeah.
So read between the lines, I'll sacrifice my ego.
Yeah.
Jack the dice with info, rock 'em twice and then I'll let go. If life's a craps game, then blow casinos, into smithereens, get stoned and robbed De Niro.
Yeah.
That for me, that was...
Dude.
It's conscious, but it's got a bit of swag.
Definitely had swag to it, but I remember my ears really pricked up when you started going down that path. And it was just before that as well. About sort of having one life. What did you say?
Do you know the worst thing is I can never remember my lyrics. So I've got to go, what is it? It's like I'm stood up in the Garden of Gethsemane, praying for forgiveness before they crucify my synergy. A beats and bars that's powerful, just like emancipation. If you and all that bullshit that you say you're chasing, money, motivation, activate like Madonna. Some millions masturbating the switch of Madonna. The only permanent thing in this life is kind of scary. The only permanent thing is life is temporary.
Yeah.
I'm tempted already to bury all my fears and marry my mind to the sunshine so I can live eternal years.
Yeah.
Prepared for parasites and leeches bleaching up the truth.
You're just like,
that's it.
Oh, this was just some throwaway. I'm never in a million. That's
not throwaway. But I was just writing and letting the next line come from the next line.
But that's your conscious pool now.
I suppose.
It happens to be from this very sort of ancient wisdom. That's just where it is. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's you now, brother. That's what you got to deal with.
But you know, it's like the way I look at it. There's enough room now because the internet is so vast. There's enough room for MCs like me to do what I do, and then for like Littles to do what he does, to Drugs to do what he does, for like talking about the drill rappers, for them to do what they do. I'm not going to say I like it. I'm not meant to like it. I'm nearly 50. I'm not meant to listen to someone who's 16 talking about what's happening in their life on the road.
Yeah.
If anything, I don't like the sentiment.
Yeah.
Why would I? I've got kids. Why would I like hearing someone talk about jucking another man or where they're going to find them? But on the flip side, you've got to appreciate that is someone's story and someone's going to listen to it. And I'm never going to say I like it because it would be stupid of me to say that. However, someone out there relates to it. And people like that get views. They get numbers. So there's a market for it and people want to hear it because it's the life they, can relate to. But I'm rhyming about stuff that I hope people can relate to. If they're maybe my age bracket. It's interesting, when you look on stats on a lot of these platforms, you can see what age bracket you have. And my main age bracket was something like 35 to 45. But then from that, it was 18 to something like 25 or whatever. It was weird.
Yeah.
But, so it must be saying something that resonates with someone.
I think you broke down the drill thing to me better than I've had it explained before of why I don't like it. But that's so true. Like, I've got kids. Why would I like it? I'm not meant to like it. But it's got its place, and I understand. I'm respectful of it.
Do you know? I got to tell you. Told me this. Big Trev from CRS. and he'll probably not remember this, but I was at CRS. I can't remember. I think I'd gone to see Nick, and we were talking about. I think it was what we classed it as road rap. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. I went, yeah, I don't get it. And Trevor says, you're not meant to get it. Why would you think you're going to get it at your age? Why are you going to understand? The same way as when we were kids. If I was in the car with my dad, some of the slang and some of the things I was saying, my dad would be like, what? Yeah. It's a generational thing. And when he was young, he'd be saying things that his dad would be saying. Yeah. What? So maybe we're not... I'm not saying I don't listen, because I listen to everything. I'll flick through YouTube. I look at Instagram. I go on the clips, because I just want to keep in with what's there. But it's not a case of that I'm going to bang it 15 times in my car. Yeah. But I don't think people would expect me to. I want to listen to something that sonically pleases me. And it just doesn't. Yeah. It's not because it's bad. It's just not my thing that I want to listen to.
But and you're true. It really does get the views. And I've heard, a friend was telling me the other day, a lot of clubs will pay somebody maybe $5,000 to go and perform one song nowadays, to just get them there. They know they're going to bring the heads in. It's the young thing now, and it is, follow a trend. I feel there is some toxicity there that I could talk about massively.
There is, of course there is.
I speak to a lot of young people, so I know their mental health and how they relate it to me. So I can speak from a genuine place of, I've heard there are negative effects to this.
Of course there is. It's the same. Music's the same as film, the same as social media. It's got amazing benefits. The problem is with anything that's got an amazing high, there's an amazing low. Yeah. Anyone that's ever done any pastime, recreational experiences will understand. Yeah. But in life, when something's so big, there's got to be some bad parts,
byproducts.
Yeah, and social media is a great, a great form of that. You like we were talking about before, TikTok and things. There's some great things on there, but then there's other things that are very toxic. The internet has great paths, but then really bad paths that you can go down, and music has as well. And can we stop it? No, of course you can't, because there's always going to be a certain generation, and it's always a generation coming up that want to rebel and want to do things that we don't want to do anymore. But it is an age thing, because we did the same sort of things, maybe not to that extreme, but then you suddenly get to an age where you go, ooh, I realised that was probably not the best thing to do. And then you're a hypocrite, because you go, you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. And your kids go, yeah, you did it. That's different.
I just think this conversation's awesome. I really like where we're at with that, because again, you can be defiant that it's just a pile of shite and I don't want to hear it, or you can allow it for what it is, respect that part of the scene and understand. You don't even have to understand it. You just go, well, that's what's happening. I'm just going to fully do what I do and commit to what you enjoy. And you don't have to, you do turn bitter. You look at something else and then you build your team up and you go, no, you should only be doing this. Doesn't make any sense.
And I've been down that road.
Doesn't make you healthy. Doesn't make you happy. It makes them more against you and not likely to want to creep into that side. And it should just be universal. It should just be possible for people to try everything out that they want to try out. And then suddenly they do find a bit more about who they are. So I love that as an idea, because I felt it as the TikTok thing or the drill thing or whatever. I'm just looking at it and I'm being so not just dismissive but hateful towards it.
But it's funny because like my youngest Malik will always sends me clips, always, or he'll bring his phone down and go, yeah, listen to this artist, and I'll hear the first few minutes, and the minute I hear trap talk, I'm in the trap, I'm like, I don't listen anymore. He's like, yeah, but the man's flow's good. And I'm like, yeah, his voice sick, flow sick, lyrical wordplay sick, content, I don't like it. Yeah, I'm not gonna like it. And the argument at times comes back, and he's got a fair argument. Yeah, but when you were coming up, you listened to Mobb Deep, you listen to Nas, you listen to Jay, and they're talking road talk, but it's different. And I'm like, you're totally right, you've got me. However, it's road talk that's not on my street. It's not on my corner. It's not 3 blocks away from where I am. Sometimes some things are too real. I'm listening to Mob and I'm hearing gun talk. course I am. And I'm in my car and I'm singing. But it's not different, but it seems different. Because of course it's not different. The principle's the same.
Yeah.
But it seems different because it's not around your corner. And I don't want to hear someone calling out a person that I know where that area is and think, wait a minute, this sounds awfully real now. This sounds like it could be 100 on there and true. But then there's a lot of fakery out there. You know, you look on the internet and you see people doing videos and holding the 50 grand and you think, why would you do? What are you? Why?
Yeah.
But we went through the stage in hip hop where it was about money and it was about gold chains and it's the same. It's just we've got older and we're looking at things a little bit different.
Yeah.
It just seems to got more intensive because it's all the time. You can't get away from it on social media. You could before because you could switch off your TV. I know you could switch off your phone, but you know it's always there and it's magnified. And there's millions and millions of MCs that are talking about trapping, talking about this, talking about that. 50 grand, Mercedes, gold or blah, and you're like, boy, I'm not interested. To me, it's boring, but I know to a 15-year-old that's listening on their phone, it's the best thing since sliced bread. That's fine. When I grew up and I listened to Organised Confusion's first album, what we're talking, 91? No, 1991? Possibly 91. That was the greatest thing since sliced bread. If I'd played it to my mum, she would have said, what is this shit? If I played it to my daddy, go, what the... I remember having my driving lesson with my dad on Langer Airfield with NWA cassette and Public Enemy on the flip side, riding home. And my dad's looking at me like, what the hell are you playing? And now I think, of course he'd look at me thinking, what the hell are you playing? Because NWO's first album was graphic.
Yeah.
And it's probably not as bad as what drill rappers are saying now. Or probably, you know, you could say it's worse. But it seemed different, but it's not different.
Wow. Right, I'll pose this question and put it forward then.
Go on then.
So with the old school, I'll call it, and the new school times, I mean, this is quite a packed question and layered, but you've been through the evolution of it. Can you give me some pros and cons, uglies and beauties, negatives and positives about, you know, you've seen the influx of technology, you've seen social media birthed, you've seen sort of how people have had to conduct themselves in this scene. Can you just give me a few of, I think this is good takeaway, this is okay to add, this is the ugly side?
Okay. First of all, this shit makes me sound old as so
sorry, I didn't mean it.
I appreciate that, Michael.
Yeah.
Well,
you have seen the evolution now.
Yeah, like that. That just sounds old. It's caveman times. Pros and cons. In mind, it's easy these days. It's easy. You can, for instance, for me to discover you, I saw someone else on your podcast. So I literally hit follow, open message, clipboard, sent link, sent message. Boom. Now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Look how quick that is. Old days, I would have had to first word of mouth or see you somewhere, or a flyer, or someone say, have you heard of blah, blah. Where's that then? It's blah, blah. Okay, how do I get in contact? Have you got his contact number? I'm talking before, or the email. Have you got his contact number? No, but so-and-so has. Okay, do me a favour. Try and link me the number. I've got the number. So I'm ringing. Is he in? No, he's not in. He's not in the office at the moment. Have you got a home number? Yeah, I've got a home number. He's not home at the moment. Okay, do you know when he's back? Can you ask him to ring blah, blah? Who are you? Yeah, shit. I'm just some random. I'm a randomer. What am I meant to say? Telling me it's blah, blah, blah. And hopefully you ring me back. That could take time. So, pros, speed. Cons, and this sounds awful, because I know my music's not for everyone. I appreciate that. It's not for everyone. It's not meant to be, but it's not for everyone. Some people say, I hate your voice, I don't like your beats, I don't like your lyrics, I don't like the way you flow, I don't like the way you sing, blah, blah, blah. Appreciate that. But there's no quality control anymore. So, in the... It's a little bit, in the old days, you had to put your money where your mouth is. For me to get my song on radio, and most radio stations were only playing vinyl, we're talking before CDs, I had to have a piece of vinyl. vinyl was expensive. You didn't print ones, you printed vinyl. So I've got to get to a professional studio because there's no laptops, so there's no mics. I've got to get to a professional studio, so that's going to cost me a little bit of money. I've got to travel to it. I've got to book the day in. I've got to make sure I get it recorded and mixed in that day, because if not, I've got to come back and I've got to pay the same amount of money, because no one's giving you an hour. You're booking by the day. And we used to record as Lost Island in London, so I've got to travel there. So I've got the petrol to pay for. Then I've got to get the mix back, and I've got to do the mix live. So when I'm doing this, sometimes your cutouts for your drums were done live to that. So boom boom kit, boom boom kit, boom 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 kit, boom boom kit, and cut out live. You do that 5 times before you got the one you wanted. So you've done that, then you get the DAT, then you got to contact whoever's printing it. If it's a record company, they've had to put the money up to press your record, so they must think you are half decent in their eyes. So straight away you've got a vote of confidence, but then you've got to get the record printed. Now we've got the record back. After your test pressings, 4 weeks, whatever it was. So you got a test pressing. Listen, sounds okay. Go ahead and press. Now we've got a bunch of records. Now if you were lucky and had a distribution deal, they were taken in places for you. If you weren't, and you were independent to start with, you were busting your records to your shop yourself. So you were getting 50 records in the boot, go to select a disc, listen to the record, do you like it? Let me leave you 5, sale and return. If you sell them, cool. If not, you return them. That's it. That's 5 records gone. So all that work for a 12-inch that if you were lucky you got 6 tunes on, most of the time you got 4. So I got 4 songs out. Then I want a radio man to play it. So I got to send it to the station. Luckily, he may have heard of us from somewhere else. So I thought, I'll take a listen, but you got to get the record to him. Because where else unless he's got a bootleg tape or a tape, or you hear it on the radio, on the phone, none of that happened. All that to get your tune. Nowadays, radio station, blah, blah, here's the link. Yeah, I like this. Do you want the MP3? Bam, sent on my phone, sent. Lovely. A day later, it's in their playlist being played. See the guy, looking at the camera going, this is your track. Yeah, boom. And that could be an American station.
It's so crazy though, because even what you've said then, there's negatives and positives of what you've just described, because that hustle and what it takes to get it to that point, it made you create the best you could possibly create, because you're thinking about how am I going to be
recording
seeing
anything and everything.
Oh,
you were recording the bit you knew, and you had to learn. You had to. There wasn't a lot of punching in because you didn't have time, so you had to go in. And I remember being in London with Styley and having to know. I had my lyrics like printed, but having to know them.
Yeah.
So I'd go in, and it was literally you got probably 3 takes if you're lucky on this, because we're not doing many cut-ins. So bam, bam, done. Cool, got it. Nowadays, I record at home. So, and I'm going to be honest, I don't remember things greatly. So, I'll learn as much, but sometimes I'll write and do it at the same time. But I can take my time, send it to Mark to mix, get a mix back if I don't want to go to Mark's. But generally, I'll go there and we'll sit and we'll mix it. But then I can have it up through DistroKid within 2 or 3 days to everyone. But everyone can do that. So if I've got a laptop and a mic, I can record first 16 I've ever written on a beat, get it out, and I can get 10,000 views. Yeah. Which is fantastic. However, I personally think it's just weakened the craft a little bit. Because I remember the days where
I think I'm on that fence.
You studied your craft. And I mean, literally, you'd think, I wrote that, and someone would tell you straight up, that's whack, that's rubbish. That's not going on any record. But you wouldn't be, your first 16 wouldn't be on a record anyway. How would you get yourself in that position? It would not happen. But nowadays, it's that quick. Yeah. And that's a pro, good at times, but there's no quality control. But on the flip side, there's no quality control, but you find some gems now. Yeah. Because someone might say, I don't like your stuff, but I'm pitching it to the wrong person, and I've got another 10,000 people are going, this bangs. But that A&R man's like, nah, that's not good. Look at some of the big artists that were passed. Yeah. That people said no to, Yeah. And then you think, like, I'm not sure, so don't quote me, this might be wrong, but Fat Joe and Eminem or something passed up on, didn't think it was going to work. Some matchup like that, biggest selling artist ever. Yeah. You're like, just because you don't see the vision, it doesn't mean the vision doesn't exist. It just means you don't see the vision.
I tell you what, this is such a nuanced conversation, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I suppose, I mean, thinking of it as well, it's just, what do you want out of it? What are you as an artist? Because if it's very fast and accessible and possible to make now, you know, that just might be that people that need to speak about their mind fog and put it on a track and feel proud of it, brilliant. They've got that access now. It's not such a hard task to do. But then if you're looking at it on a scene perspective and saturating the market or whatever, then this is what it can be doing. And it's so tricky to, it's like treacle, isn't it? Stepping foot in, like, is it doing healthy here? Is it doing healthy there? But I suppose how you have to look at it is, this is what's happening. For me to find solace and happiness within it, this is the way I'm going to look at it. And I suppose for me, yourself now, I'll be listening to local healers. I get to put my Spotify tailored to what I want it to be,
Which is a plus.
and I get to keep on creating how I want to create and collaborating with people that I go, that's my vibe, that's my bag. But I'm not angry at the tribe that just take all this sap in for me, or mainstream or whatever it is. I'm just like, yeah, do your thing. I get to conduct how I want to conduct. And I think what it is, what I'm discovering is, it's just a lack of self-awareness. If you start feeling rubbish in a scene, or you're not happy within it, it's because you're not self-aware of how you're feeling. Do you know what I mean? You just got to conduct yourself in a way that's going to make you feel the best you can feel.
And it's also what part of the scene you're in. Because if you think about it, if you go to a party and you stand in the corner and you don't move, and you speak to 5 people or anyone who walks past you, and every person that you speak to or walks past you looks grimace, pissed off, not enjoying themselves, it's going to be a bad party. You could have stepped 2 meters away and got to the table that was saying, this is the greatest bar I've ever been to. You come and join us. Oh my God, having a laugh. It's perspective. It's where you stand. So you might be in a scene where you think you're seeing the whole scene. No one sees the whole hip-hop scene. And I firmly believe that no one sees it, because there's a few people that are into writing, MCing, b-boying, you know, or popping, DJing. So they see quite a wide spectrum, but you never see everything. So some people say, yeah, but hip hop scene's it's dead at the moment, blah. Well, you might just be listening to music. Go to a b-boy jam and you see the passion for some of the dancers. You can't tell me that's dead. Yeah, but the graffiti scene's blah blah blah. Okay, you go to either graffiti jam or go and look at some underground tunnels and look at some artwork that's phenomenal. You can't tell me it's dead. You're just seeing what you're seeing. You've only got 2 pair of eyes. You can only see so much at one time. Maybe you need to take a break or look for a bit of the scene that you've not discovered. You know, the amount of people that I meet, they go, yeah, I'm a hip hop head. Oh, cool. Or and tell a story, but there's a writer I once met, and I was like, oh, so who are you listening to? Me being naive, presuming this writer is going to listen to hip hop. I don't check for hip hop. Fuck? What? You don't check for hip hop. You're a graffiti writer. Me just presuming. And I was wrong to presume that because you write, you must like hip hop and rap and, you know, hip hop music. And then I don't really like that. Okay. And it kind of made me think, okay, so there are people that are in silos in the hip hop scene. You know, I know some MCs that don't know about b-boying. That if they went to a jam, they wouldn't recognise certain moves. But why should they? Because their bit in hip-hop is MCing. You know, some MCs don't make beats. Some MCs have no idea how to make beats. Why should they? Because that's not their lane. But if you think the scene is not what it should be, maybe you need to branch out and see other parts of the scene. Because the scene is very, very multifaceted and there's so much on there. But you can't see it all, you can't cover it all. When you go to some festivals, you kind of see a bit of everything. But, you know, if you're unhappy with the scene, maybe you're just on the wrong bit of the scene. Yeah. It's, you know, try and find something else. There's so much music out there. You mentioned the local healers and people like that. To me, they're bringing, I'm not saying bringing it back because it's never gone anywhere, but they're doing boom bap rap, positive boom bap rap, which is my bag 100%. Juggernaut's doing the same. Vandal Savage, Littles, they're all doing hip hop as we as in our age group, and people that are like-minded say hip-hop is. But then there's a bag of artists that will be doing trap music that's saying, yeah, but that's a form of hip-hop because it came from blah, blah, blah. Who's to say they're wrong and who's to say they're right? It's not my hip-hop. But my hip-hop might not be the same as your hip-hop.
Is this sort of acceptance how you come across now a new revelation? Do you used to be quite standoffish to other ways of being? And
and if my wife was sat next to me now, because she'll probably watch this, she'd say, yeah, we've had conversations where I've come across like a bitter old man, and I'm defending my corner. And it's only recently that I've looked at it and gone, all right, babe, you're right. I need to address the way that I look at it, because you do shut people off and people's ears close very quickly. Because I see a lot of older B-boys and I listen to them. Yeah, man, we should be doing this. These kids don't know. We should be. I'm like, whoa, you're clearly not in a scene. Because all you're seeing is the scene, your top bit of the scene. Delve a little bit and you're going to find some youngsters that, to be honest, search their history, know their history. But as we said before, if they don't, they might just be living in the moment of hip hop. And do you know what? If you can live in the moment, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, dude.
You don't, there's no anxious, you're not anxious about the past, no apprehension about the future. Yeah, you're in the middle. You're in the middle.
Yeah.
You live in, if you live in the moment, you are literally blessed and living the best life you can. 90% of people can't live in the moment. We dwell on the past. We're nervous about the future. Living in the moment's the key. So if a hip-hop head is saying, yeah, but I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be enjoyed. We get too... It is the passion thing. But I think we get too political. We get too... I don't know what the word is. We're too protective over this...
Good word.
This baby that we have hip-hop.
Well, you were just talking about the moment then, and it's a very Buddhist principle, isn't it? But there's sort of two key words, and it's acceptance and expectation. And you've got this expectation built up on how it should be, how this is, and if you're holding on to that dearly, you're always going to find failure from that somehow or another, because people are going to only present you with failure. You've not met up to their guidance and to their expectations. So I do feel, because I'm a social butterfly, man. I like a bit of the football, a bit of the boxing, a bit of the hip-hop, a bit of everything, but I have full acceptance that I don't know the core of anything. And I'm willing to do that investigation and finding, and because I'm fascinated, I'm curious, I like it all, but I haven't got to the depths of it yet. I'm cool by that, because that just means I can always learn. I can always be open.
Yeah, if you're a sponge, you're always gonna take on that water. But it has taken me time to get there. I'm not gonna lie. There's been times when I've been bitter on it and the relevance thing and questioning and trying to, and then at some point you just think, well, and I mean recently I'm talking that I'm finding this, and it's coming out in my music as well though. Yeah. Like some of the new tracks I'm writing are, talk about these things, talk about the scene, talk about how you should maybe pass the torch on and not look at it from a bitter point of view, and just appreciate that not everyone sees things the way you do. Yeah. And that's not an issue. It's not an issue, but it's either easier said than done. Yeah. There's times where you get caught up in a conversation, someone says something and you just want to defend your corner for no reason apart from you just want to defend your corner. And then later on, you suddenly think, okay, now what did I do that for? What a waste of energy. That's my path that I'm trying to learn at the moment, and it's not the quickest path to walk down.
Well, mate, I'm glad we're getting there. Though.
It's not. It's not.
I'll walk with you. Now we're 2 hours in.
Cool.
I can't believe it. I've enjoyed this so much. In fact, I'd love to do it again.
Is this going to be a part 1 and part 2?
100%, because this is brilliant. Would you do like your own podcast? I'd love to hear.
I would. I do some kind of podcasty things for work at times, and I always thought I had a few ideas for. I'm not going to say them because other people watch them, not because other people watch them. But I had some ideas for artists and podcasts. But do you know what? There's so many people doing it, and I think there's some some are okay, and some need work. It's saturation. It really is. You've got to have something different, and I think you've got a thing on the market here. That's different, because and this is not a regular for me, because we've delved into music a little bit, but it's not been
I would
100% about
listen
music,
to you,
you know.
talk about it to its extremes and its depths and its real talk. I
So
love that.
that means when the next album's out, you're booking me for the next
Mate,
album.
I genuinely think you're such a brilliant character.
I'm on that.
If you want to bring anyone else with you as well, where you know you can bounce off and go.
I'll bring my wife.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
We'll do a double podcast. I'll bring my wife.
Honestly, you're such a cool guest. I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you being on here today. Because what a guy.
No, it's been. I've enjoyed. Do you know what? I've totally enjoyed it. It's good to just sit and chat about, you know, just
you've
life and what we do.
You've given me some wisdom today that I will, you know, you listen to people, you chat with people, and for the majority of times when I'm with them, we chat on this level where there's just an understanding and a know, and I'm nodding in nostalgia and beauty, and I'm like, I really enjoy it. But you give me some stuff today of a new discovery, of a new level, and I've really enjoyed those moments where I've gone, that's made me think, and I love thinking. I love being in that place of my mind.
No, wicked. I appreciate that.
I truthfully believe everything you've done today. Tell everybody, tell the audience where they can find your stuff, where you want them to go down, and what paths.
You can catch me on social media on Facebook, Frisco Boogie, Instagram, Frisco Boogie, Spotify, Frisco Boogie. There's kind of a theme that we've got here. Everything's on the streaming platforms. I keep toying with vinyl, but to be honest, it's one of those things where vinyl, when you're independent and you're doing it yourself, you kind of think, do you want to be left with a bunch of vinyl? And no, I don't, to be honest. And for me, I am an old school head, and I've got them traditions, but it's about music.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear the music, you're going to listen on whatever platform it's out there, or you don't really want to listen to the music at the end of the day. So it's on YouTube, all the platforms. Hit me up on Instagram. I like it when people message you and tell you things. And if they've listened to something, tell me what tune you like. Tell me what tune you don't like. If you don't like it, just say, do you know what? That was whack. That's fine. I'll probably go, oh my God. But then I'll go, okay, that's cool. Because opinions, the track on there called Opinions. Opinions are opinions at the end of the day. Life's built on opinions. You know,
it's what formulate people.
Yeah, if you know, laws are based on opinions. You know, if 100 people say it's right, it's right. It's probably not right, but that's, you know, that's the way it works. So just hit me up and talk, you know, and enjoy the music, stream the music.
I like what you said on the vinyl thing, because I am pretty much, I say selfish, but I do most things for self now. And, you know, I wrote a book, and I don't think it was my best thing, but I'm just really happy that I've done it now. And I've got that for myself. And same with a CD or a vinyl, whatever. I think it's good to just, you know, it's like a trophy case at the end of it, isn't it? See everything.
Because I've got all the Lost Island vinyl. I've got all the Lost Island vinyl and the CDs and everything.
So I'd be interested in creating a vinyl one day. When you said that, I thought, oh, that must be a great feeling.
You can order one-offs. So one-off vinyl's great, because then you can have one for yourself. But
I'd get a vinyl of yours.
To print like, but I need like minimum of a certain amount to go. I'm on that, and then it's, you know. But there's those crowdfunding that you can do. It's not crowdfunding, because I don't really like the crowdfunding thing. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But there's one that you can do for records where people can pre-order, and when they get to a certain amount, they print. So you don't do anything. Literally, it goes through the third party. And you know, maybe the next album I might do where, you know, the following has got a bit more, so I'm kind of guaranteed that it will happen. Because the last thing I want people to do is go, yeah, and then it doesn't happen. Then I've got to tell people, actually, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get it, because that letting people down business. I'm like, no, it's if people have put their hard-earned money, you know, money's hard to come by these days.
Yeah.
People have dug in their pocket and said, I've worked a certain amount of hours for that money to buy your record because I appreciate it, and it doesn't turn up. I'm like, that's not fair. If someone did that to me, I'd be like, oh, wait a minute, that's not fair. So I don't really want to be in that position. I'd rather just, if you want to listen to the music, it's out there on, you know, every platform. It's not about money, it's about the music and the culture. This
has been awesome. The whole podcast, I've loved it. So, guys, thank you for being here. You've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm going to leave you with this. I always do. Just be nice to one another, you beautiful buggers. All you got to do. Big love for being here, man. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, man.